something about the summer that just really invigorates my love for music and music videos. Sabrina Carpenter's Man-Child music video could not come out at a better time. What a cinematic masterpiece that was. But today I don't want to talk about the mainstream music videos that everyone knows. Today I want to shed some light on some projects that are a bit more niche, but just as inspirational. So to start off my list is the music video for Kiki Rockwell's Serena. I am an absolute sucker for music videos that have a narrative to them. It can be something that is very apparent throughout the music video or something that's a little bit more subtle, but I'm a sucker for it either way. And Serena has a very tragic tale of a man who falls in love with a siren, and it kind of goes back and forth between flashbacks of him in his youth with the siren and then him as an old man reminiscing on those memories. It's just so beautifully executed. A lot of the flashback scenes have this very warm vintage look to them. The colors are very warm, they're a little bit creamy. The styling also really fits that whole kind of vintage. I think it's 40s. I could be wrong about that era, but it's around that kind of time period with the style of dressing. The location that they filmed this video on is stunning. There's all of these cliffs and greenery mixed in with the ocean and sand that just create a lot of beautiful texture on screen. And they also really make for really great composition. So a lot of the framing, there's a really good use of the characters actually being in their environment and actually interacting with it. And it's just very well done. There are also these really stunning scenes, particularly in the opening, and it's kind of sprinkled throughout, of the mermaid or siren on some rocks. And it's black and white and it reads very lighthouse. Kind of has that black and white eerie filmic look to it, which I absolutely love. Another element that I really love with the color grading is that when it flashes forward to present day, the colors are still warm to fit the setting, but overall there's a bit more of a cool tone. I notice a little bit more green than yellow, and I think it really just kind of adds to that narrative of the present day is just not as warm and comforting as it was when he was younger and he was spending time with the siren and they were falling in love and all that. So it's very tragic, but the video is just very, very beautiful. And there are so many shots that just make me feel something. I feel the just kind of tragic isolation with the wide shots, the warmth that's exuded from the close-ups, and just the kinetic energy when they're spending time together. It's just very romantic, but also kind of bittersweet. This next video, it lived in my head for probably a solid week after I first saw it, and it's Bad Dream by the Wallows. I don't really listen to a lot of the Wallows. This was just a video that I stumbled upon, and I'm very grateful that I did because it's one that I will throw on for anybody to watch. It's another music video with a narrative, although this narrative is not as prevalent as you would have in Serena. And because of that, it kind of catches you off guard when you realize what actually is going on. So this video it's one of those that I consider to be in a box. There's not a lot of playing with location, although there are different sets throughout the video. Each character is kind of in their own box. A lot of the boxes that these characters are in are they have a mid-century modern tone to them, so it automatically kind of puts you in a more retro atmosphere, which I think really adds to the surprise element that comes later. So all of these characters are in their own boxes, and the camera is static, which I feel was a great intentional choice. It makes for great composition and framing, and also it really allows the actors to really shine. They're the movement in the video to keep it interesting, and I think that they do a great job. So as the music video progresses, you get to see the creepy guy, our sinister character, lurking about as the song goes on. And because the camera is static, he's not super noticeable in the background at first glance, and then the more that you notice him, the more that it starts to get a little bit creepier. It kind of loses this, to me, it's very like vintage summer, kind of in like the 70s, the 80s, maybe a little bit 90s, but summer pre everyone is on the internet. So it kind of loses this summer innocence as this sinister character becomes more prevalent in the story that's being told. And then it quickly turns into what kind of reminds me of like a Friday the 13th, but maybe a little bit more like B-movie horror film, which is really fun. There's the guy, all the actors and musicians do a really great job. It's a little bit corny, which is why I think it kind of reminds me of like B-movie horror films. But even the sinister guy, like he's really creepy, and then inserts a little bit of humor here and there, and it just spices it up a little bit. It's really fun. All of these actors are having to tell the story through body language. I think they do a really great job. I don't follow K-pop as closely as I used to, but what really drawed me into this one is that this track has a cinematic version that's 15 minutes long. And with that 15 minutes, they not only had a music video, but they really produced a short film, which I never went super down the K-pop well, but it's something that I had never seen another group do before. And knowing the group and its history, I was really intrigued on what they would do in 15 minutes. And without getting super into a lot of the theories, because that's a big part of the world that Artemis is a part of, there's a lot of theories and symbolism, and it crosses different tracks. But we would be here all day if I attempted to do any of that. So instead, I really just want to shine a light on the visuals and the techniques that were used. The video starts with this dark fairy tale that's told through these kind of medieval tapestry paintings, and it really sets you up for the story that they're going to tell. And I'm not going to pretend to know like I understand what's going on in the story, but not having that information doesn't really ruin the viewing experience. If anything, it made me watch it a few more times just to see all the little details that I missed. I know there's a part about missing people in a television dimension, and then one of the members is on a roof in full armor and a crossbow, and there's birds everywhere. There's a lot of digital world visuals going on. There's a lot of good stuff to pull from. And the reason that I call this a film is that there is some dialogue. There's a lot of internal dialogue done through voiceover. The way that it's shot, it's not like a music video. It truly is shot like a film. A very artful film as they jump from character to character, and some of the characters have a bit more of that digital visual. And then you jump to a scene where there are these hunters and they're hunting birds, and the black and white kind of strobe slow motion, and the black and white scenes during this part are just so impactful. They really made me feel heartbroken, and it really just added to this whole symbolism of these birds, and it talks about the birds falling, and then you see it, and they play a lot with very dynamic camera movements, particularly in this scene. And there's a scene where it's the member in the full armor on the rooftop, and they play a little bit with kind of like this choppy slow motion, and those little effects just really amplify the video for me. You can tell that they just had a lot of fun making it. And then you finally get to the music video portion, and I'm a sucker for a match cut. And this section of the video is full of them. It's black and white, and the way that they have each member do a solo portion of the dance, and then they match cut from member to member. And the first time you see it, it kind of catches you off guard, and then they just keep doing it. And it's just so well executed that I watched this section about 3 times just to see each of the cuts, and then they all come together and they finish out the dance, and the way that they do the bridge is just, it's very empowering, which goes along with the song lyrics, and I just absolutely ate it up. Even if you're not into K-pop, I highly recommend just watching this piece of art. I guarantee that there is something in it that will draw you in. For me, there are two types of categories for music videos. There are your music videos that are done on multiple locations and they really just use the world as their sandbox. And then there are music videos that I like to call in a box, which is not negative at all, but they're just using a soundstage and props to kind of make their own world. And the music video for Hana ni Blue, or Flower in Blue, because my Japanese is not great at all, by Indigo La End, is one of those that is in a box, but I really love their usage of creating a set. From the very beginning, the musicians being there with their drum kits and bass and amps is not seen as something that's in the way of the story. In fact, they actually integrate it. So there's a lot of emphasis on sound, from the feeling of the vibrations to the lyrics being presented through sign language, which is something that I think is really beautiful, especially when you find out that the song is about the complexities of love and how it can be very warm and comforting, but at times it can be difficult. It can also be bittersweet, and you can have problems with communicating. It just really adds to that. And a lot of the visuals and the B-roll are a bit literal to the music. The chocolate and the flowers are very much present in the lyrics, but I don't think being on the nose like that is a bad thing. I particularly like how with the flower visual, it's not just the flowers, and with the track being Flowers in Blue, the blue paint kind of muddling the flowers, I think, is a very accurate visual to what the song is about. And then they just bring it to another level with the fire, and then at the end, you know, that stuff goes away and you have your beautiful bouquet again, which is just kind of a accurate visual for what the song is about. I also love the subtle little details, like the TV behind them that has an error screen and then a no signal, and then it kind of morphs into this own kind of smoky in the water effect. It's subtle, but it just adds a little bit of something. For a music video on paper that is kind of simple in nature, I think it's just very beautiful in the way that it's executed. The last music video that I want to share today is Weight of Desire by Tennis. If you love 70s, 80s music, Tennis is a wonderful duo that just exude that sort of era in a more contemporary way. At times, their songs kind of remind me of the Carpenters and a little bit of that like 80s synth pop. It's a good amalgamation of those two genres. Weight of Desire starting out is already in my good books as it's in a 4:3 ratio, which I love when people play with aspect ratios. Especially now, I feel like with the way that technology is and formatting, we can get a little bit stuck in these standard aspect ratios. So experimenting a little bit and having it in a different aspect ratio, I think can really add something. And in this instance, it really adds to that kind of vintage era atmosphere that Tennis loves to go for. And this is another in the box video, but it's done in a way that they have a lot of fun with it. While they may be in the same box, they have different sets and different lighting to go with those sets. So at times it's very warm and it has that creamy lighting to go with the books. And then at other times it's a bit more stripped down and simplified. There's not a lot of movement from the actors, the musicians throughout this video, and a lot of that movement to keep you drawn in is from the camera. There's a lot of push-ins, there's a lot of pull-outs, there's an occasional whip that just kind of keeps it a little bit exciting. It's not anything super fancy, but it's enough to get the job done in a well-executed way. I also love that they play with textures with their set pieces through this, from the puzzle to the candles and the smoke, the set dressing. There's a lot of things to just kind of continually add that visual interest in a kind of low budget, easy achievable way. Another aspect that I really love is those little bits of playful nature. There's a moment where it has little cameo vignettes that's very 70s, and the way that they mix these kind of old school techniques with more contemporary ones just really creates a very interesting atmosphere. And I think it really fits the duo and their creative world that they've kind of built for themselves. Alrighty, so those are all the music videos that I have to share with you today. I hope that you could find something inspiring and maybe found a new music group to listen to today. I'm someone who listens to a whole lot of different music, so if you have a music video that you really love, I would love if you shared it down in the comments below. I'm always looking for new music to add to my catalog. I'm slowly getting back into doing the occasional media analysis video, or at least what my version of a media analysis video is. So if you would like to see more of that from me, make sure that you give this video a like, so that way I know. Leave a comment down below for any future suggestions you would like to see from me. If you are new and you would like to see more of my face, don't forget to subscribe. I hope you have a super lovely day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.